Hey, hope everybody's doing great today. This is section 9.2 in our textbook. We're basically developing formulas for circles and regular polygons. So circles, um, right here in your slides, you already know circles. The area of a circle is pi r squared. Circumference can be written as pi d or 2 pi r. Biggest thing to watch with this, honestly, is seems kind of silly, but uh, whether or not you have a radius, which is figure 1, or a diameter, which is figure 2, provided, okay? Sometimes they're going to try to trick you with this because there's really not much to it, so they'll try to trick you with the wording. In other words, they'll say something like, they'll give you a picture like number 2 and say, they'll put it in a word problem and say the diameter is 16 and ask for the area. And you have to remember, oh, if the diameter is 16, then I need to use a radius of 8. Okay, so be careful for the wording and the problems for those sorts of things, okay? So step one, basically for you guys, you're not going to have much problem with this. So find the area and the circumference of this guy. So the area is pi r squared. So pi times r is 5, so 5 squared. So we call that 25. Ugh, what kind of 5 is that? 25 pi square inches. And we can write it that way now, okay? It's acceptable to write that way, or as a decimal. If you multiply that out in your calculator, you get 78 to the nearest tenth point 5 square inches. Okay. For the circumference, we get pi d. Let's just use pi times diameter. Diameter is 10 for that guy, so we get 10 pi, which is 31.4 inches. Now just put an equal sign there. That'd be good. Okay. All right, and it's not square inches for circumference is again like perimeter. Circumference is distance around. Area is basically the blue part, the shaded area, if you will. Okay. Figure 2. Um, quickly, we'll just go if 16, so r must be 8. So a equals pi times 8 squared. And I'll go ahead and just write this as pi. So we get 64 pi here in centimeters. And this one for the circumference, pi d, so 16 times pi, and we get, so that turns out to be, and that's really it, 16 pi centimeters. Okay, easy enough. You guys have done that before, not to spend much time on that. Okay, so let's go to, this is new, okay, a regular polygon. So what does regular mean? Regular is a figure with all the sides and all the angles the same. Okay. So this is a regular polygon. So our formula, which again is in your notes here, is 1/2 times the perimeter, distance around, times the apothem. Well, what's the apothem, Mr. Roderick? The apothem is simply the distance from the middle of the figure directly to the opposite side. Okay, to the side, if you will. Okay, so it's we have two lines that we're interested in here. The apothem, we'll just put a little a here for apothem, and we also typically have, if you want to think of this circle here, you think this radius. Okay, if I'm going to the edge of the circle, it's r. Okay, all right, so that basically that polygon is inscribed in, or that pentagon I should say, is inscribed in there. Okay, so if I want to do this, okay, so if this guy is 14 inches here, if it's regular, the perimeter is pretty easy. Area equals 1/2 times the perimeter. Well, I got 14 times 5, which is 70, the distance around the figure. Okay, now I need to find the distance of that apothem. Okay, so now I got to get to work. Okay, and I got to know some geometry to be able to do this. Okay, first of all, in a, if you think of a circle, there's 360 degrees in a circle, right? Okay, so we need to be able to take the 360. Let me just extend this right here. The 360 degrees in a circle, and say, okay, there are basically 5 angles coming out of the middle of that circle. If I chopped this up into 5 little triangles. Okay, so if you look at your circle, basically I chopped the 360 degrees into 5 equal parts. So each of those angles, I marked that blue angle there, is 72 degrees. 360 divided by 5. All right, so now the icing on the cake here is, well, if this is 72 all the way from here to here, this must be 36 on this side. Okay, we've got a right angle here. And I know that the whole piece here, this line right here, is 14, so half of this guy must be 7. Now look at what I've got. I'm going to blow up this little triangle that I've drawn in here and see what I know. I'm missing A. That's what I want to know. This is 7. And I've got an angle here of 36 degrees in a right triangle. Holy cow, we're back to what do we have, what do we want? So we can do right triangle trig. Okay, so I can go from the 36-degree angle, this is the opposite. This is the adjacent. So the tangent of 36 degrees equals the opposite, which is 7, over the adjacent, which is A apothem. Okay, so these guys switch spots, and A equals 7 over the tangent of 36 degrees, and that number turns out to be 9.6 inches. Okay, so now I can plug that into my formula, and we get, now it's just plug it in your calculator, 35 times 9.6, and we get a total of 336 square inches. Okay. Okay. So to use the formula, which again you're going to be given, I have to know regular figure. I have to know a circle has 360 degrees. You know, there's a lot of geometry that you have to know to be able to set up this formula. But, you know, it all fits together pretty nicely. Okay. 72 degrees for this whole angle here. Half of this is 36 on this side. And then I just basically solve for the apothem. Okay? Let's try that again. Let's go with a different figure here. Regular octagon. So I need to know, first of all, again, it's regular. Octagon is 8. So now we're chopping this up into 8 equal parts. So I need 360 divided by 8. And I get 45. Okay. So now I get 22.5 for this angle right here. Okay. Half of the 45. Okay. 45 divided by 2. Okay, so now let's see. What do I know? So the perimeter is 80, right? 1/2, 8 sides of 10, so 10. And the apothem we need to figure out is, again, we'll kind of blow up this triangle here. Oop, there we go. So this is 5, right angle, 22.5. And we now, once we know what we're doing here, it's repetitive here. We have the of 22.5 equals the opposite, which is 5, over the apothem, which is A, and A equals 5 over the tangent of 22.5 degrees. Okay, so now that turns out to be 12.1. Plug him into the formula, and I get, multiply that together, and you get a grand total of, oh, I put a 10 in instead of an 80. Goodness gracious, Gregory. So 80 here, and now 40 times 12.1, and I get a grand total of, where's my number here? 484 square feet. Okay. All right. So I think you get the idea here, but let's go ahead and try this one last time, going kind of the other direction here. All right. Um, Last example we're going to do together. Okay, so the hexagon with a perimeter of 48 inches. Okay, so hexagon is 6. So this is your figure. Perimeter of 48 inches. Okay, so again, now I'm going into the same spot. Okay, find the area of a regular. So I know area equals 1/2 times the perimeter. Go ahead and fill him in. Times A. Don't know A. Need to find A. Okay, so we go here, go to the middle, draw one of these little triangles, and 360 divided by 6 is 60. So this one's a real nice one. Hopefully, if you remember this, this is going to save you some work here. This is again, this whole thing is 60 here, so one side of this has to be 30. Okay, one side of this has to be 30. So this has to be 4. Okay, so 1/2 of that. I've got a right triangle. So now I've got a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Yay! So now again, if this is if across from the 30 is 4, the hypotenuse has to be 8. That's the relationship. Okay. So now this has to be 4. The apothem has to be 4 times the square root of 3. Okay, just by setting up your ratios. You could do your, I'm not going to go through that tangent process again. You could do that tangent process again to find this A. But if you know your 30, 60, 90 triangle, you can just go ahead and plug in the 4 there and say, okay, if this is 4 square root of 3 for the apothem, and the hypotenuse is 8. Okay, so now the area equals 1/2 times 48 times 4 square root of 3. And that just becomes 24 times 4 square root of 3. So we get, as a decimal, let's go ahead and just take that to decimal form, and I get 166.3 square, and it's in inches, right? All right. All right. So your lesson for today, we'll do those other 2 slides in class as quick checks, number 6 and 7 there in that last slide there. But basically, your lesson for today is the first part is completely review, right? Area of a circle, area and circumference of a circle, no big deal. The new part is right here. Area of any regular polygon is 1/2 the perimeter times the apothem. So our vocabulary, we have to know regular. We have to know apothem is the new word. Apothem is simply the distance from the middle directly to a side, makes a right angle. Okay, we need to know 360 degrees in a triangle, or 360 degrees in a circle, so I can chop up my triangles correctly and know the degree measures for those. And then I know my right triangle trig to actually find the apothem. Okay? And sometimes, if I'm so fortunate, they'll give me a 30, 60, 90 triangle, and I won't have to go through that right triangle trig process. I'll just go ahead and find that missing side. Okay? Hope you're having a great day, and we'll practice this in class together, and we will talk to you soon.